like the
Good evening, Bill Wadman.
good evening, Sandy Robertson.
Are you a continuing witness?
To what exactly?
Well, to what indeed? You tell me. What do you continually witness, and what are you a witness continuing to?
Well, I will tell you right now, I am witnessing space history.
What do you mean? Because of the.
There's a yeah, the Artemis 2 is on its way to the moon. Well, will be as of 8:25 tonight.
Well, I was going to say, are you really a witness to that?
In the sense that I'm not actually looking through a telescope at the spaceship in space right now. I'm just looking at it online.
Sure. And also, there's like a historical narrative about the first lunar landings where we might say that they actually didn't happen and it was just a big hoax.
Well, those people are crazy. Yes, in this case, I do think I'm witnessing it. Um, and honestly, it's interesting because we haven't been out of low Earth orbit since 1972, and here we are going back out, and I mean, that was before I was born. So in the 51 years that I've been alive, we have not gone this far, even as
Oh,
far as they've already gone. Which is just, I don't know. It's as a space nerd, it's weird having to actually be watching it happen. You know?
what constitutes a space nerd, Bill?
Oh God. In my case, I've read books on the development of the lunar lander by the guy who ran the development company. I've read books by the people who designed the Hubble Space Telescope. I've read the what do they call it when they get back? They debriefing transcripts from Apollo 11. So when they got back, they talked to them for 4 hours, and I've read the transcripts.
So you've done a lot of reading, right?
Yes, and I've met a bunch of the guys too.
Which
I've
guy?
met, I've shaken hands with 5 people who walked on the moon.
How did it feel? Did it feel like there was something lunar tastic about them?
I mean, because I already knew in my brain who they were and had sort of worshiped these people, shaking their hands and actually meeting them and knowing they did those things. Yeah, I mean, it felt like became part of the narrative by connecting with them.
Okay, so now we're getting to where I sort of feel that we ought to be.
Okay.
So a continuing narrative based on the actions that either I, you, or someone else has committed to, created somehow.
Okay.
Do
Yeah.
we stay as witness for as long as we live to the things that have happened?
Uh, I mean, yes. The question is, are witnesses the people we tell about the experience, things we've witnessed? Does it go down another level?
Does the witness know that they are unwitting, or are they
Is it an active act or is it a passive act?
sure? I'm just playing with this to begin because
Yeah, no. Um, I think that it's sort of, I don't think you get to choose at a certain point, you know? You happen to be at the place where the thing happened, you are witnessing it, and you don't get to say, nope, I am not a witness to this, even though the information goes into your brain.
sure, I mean, have you ever witnessed something that you wish you hadn't?
Oh, um, I'm sure I could come up with something. I mean, there are things that,
It might
I
be
mean,
too personal.
no, I mean, yeah, I'm sure there are some of those which if I thought about it, but I've kind of blocked them out on purpose, probably. Um, but there are certainly movies I've seen and things that I wish I hadn't seen because they give me nightmares and that kind of stuff.
Mm,
Um, there are experiences I've had that I wish I didn't have because they were painful.
sure. Do you feel able to tell us one?
No, I mean, an easy one would be, I don't know, break up with an ex or something, right? Like thinking about some big giant fight you have with somebody you cared a whole lot about and no longer are in your life. I mean, these are the kinds of experiences that I think change the way you see the world a little bit.
Sure. But in that continuing witness, your example, the breakup that's gone, horribly wrong, where people have
I'm
shouted.
using that as a serious but not life-changing event.
Hmm.
I'm sure there are life-changing events. I was there when I watched my father die. You know, are there times when I wish I hadn't been there and seen that? Sure. Are there times when I think about if I hadn't been there and I slept through it, would I be regretting it the rest of my life? Yeah. So I mean, there's all kinds of stuff like that too.
What benefit does it bring to be a continuing witness?
What is the alternative to a continuing witness?
An
Can you
ignorant.
turn it off? You know what I mean?
A static ignoramus? I mean, seriously, what is.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I mean, is there a non-continuing witness, I guess is my question.
Mm. I mean, are we in just like in this perpetual cycle of witnessing? Um,
Yeah. I think that's being alive. It's
sure.
just like the information's coming in and we are processing it as best we can, right?
Mm. So this all came about because I was driving in Dorset the other week, and
As one does.
yeah, well, it's where I live. And I was thinking about I was thinking about some of the kind of local folklore and stories that are from particularly the Purbecks, like Purbeck Isle, that kind of area, the Jurassic Coast. There's lots of history here actually, although it's not as perhaps grand or fancy or well kind of preserved in a public consciousness beyond Dorset, maybe, as other
Sure.
places, certainly in the UK. But I was thinking about St Judith. I mean, that's a bit of a misnomer actually. I think it's St Juthware, which is she's normally
Okay.
classed as a Cornish saint, but actually she came from Dorset, and she's a cephalophore. Do you know what a cephalophore is?
I do not.
A cephalophore is a term that's like head carrying saint. So
Oh, okay.
yeah, so the most famous one is probably Saint Denis, patron
Okay.
saint of Paris or France, even I suppose. But a cephalophore is someone who's usually been martyred through decapitation, who continues to preach, to speak, to pray beyond their execution, usually carrying their head under their arm. And there's lots of instances of the cephalophore appearing in, particularly medieval art. Medieval art is full
Right.
of cephalophore. But the term cephalophore wasn't really coined until early 20th century in France. I think a writer or a historian, someone used it. But it's derived from the Greek meaning head carrier.
Okay. Got it.
Um, but the thing that I found really interesting when I was thinking about this saint, St Juthware, um, she was apparently a very, very well-meaning virgin martyr.
Aren't they all?
Yes, gave alms to the poor, prayed feverishly, was just generally all round great Christian.
Okay.
And her father died after remarrying, and her stepmother was very jealous of her. And she had chest pains or something like that, and the stepmother advised her to put soft cheeses on her breasts to ease the pain.
Sure. I do it all the time.
This is all kind of folkloric stuff, isn't it? But like her brother Bana came along, and the stepmother had said she's pregnant, out of
Oh, I see.
wedlock, blah blah blah. And so Bana apparently reached up under her tunic and felt her breasts, felt the moisture on them, and believed her to be pregnant, or to have had child and to be
Sure.
lactating. And so he cut her head off because of the shame on the family. I mean,
Okay.
subsequently he felt terrible about that.
Yeah, as you
I don't know
would.
why I'm laughing. It's truly awful. But he's felt so awful that he became a monk.
Sure.
Don't worry,
So,
Bana. You can go into the monastery. You're absolved. Anyway, um, but she continued to preach beyond her decapitation. So the legend has it. And anyway, there's this thing which is St Juthware, which is from the Sherborne Missal, which is now in the British Library, which is a beautiful, I think it's like 300-page or more document for Mass, used during Mass. And here she is holding her head with the faithful praying to her. There's a pilgrimage site in what was Sherborne Abbey, where there was a shrine. Her remains were moved there, I think, around about the 15th century or something, before the abbey was dissolved. There's so much history around this. But really, I mean, that's all very interesting, and a historian will do a much better job of explaining this. In fact,
Right.
Wikipedia will probably do a better job of explaining this than I can.
I'll go check it out afterwards, but go ahead.
But the thing that I found really interesting about it is this idea that we continue witnessing beyond the event. And the
Is
thing
now
about
you're saying like we as people who hear this story, or are you saying Judith by holding her own head witnessed her own death? Which way are we
no,
going with this?
I think the thing about headless saints is that they do several things. They preach beyond their execution.
Yep.
They continue to witness their faith even after the decapitation. So it was the idea that we keep on seeing, we keep on in that awareness beyond what we
In
can
this
see.
case, awareness in the mythical, uh, uh, moral realm.
Um,
Just trying to follow where your thought process is going.
I'm simply saying that there is like this event where something seismic occurs which finishes everything that's gone before.
Okay,
For example, the decapitation.
sure, that'll do it.
And then there is this period after that where we continue to see, we continue to be witness.
Yeah.
And the thing that really got me thinking about what it means to be a continuing witness is kind of like connected to art more widely, which is that art is a kind of crucible for idea, but it's also this place where um like culture and history solidify, and
Sure.
where art is, it appears to be fixed, but it's not.
Yep.
So it continues to speak to us beyond its creation, is really what I'm kind of saying. And I found that an interesting aspect of what this spoke to me about. I mean, as I said, I am not a historian.
Sure.
Wikipedia or a good historian is going to speak much more to the finer details of the story of St Juthware, for example, or St Judith. But really, the idea that came about from it is this idea that we go on beyond our like death, even if it's a miniature death, like the death of consciousness, for example, into something that keeps us keeps us not experiencing, but yes, witnessing what is there. And I
Are you
wonder.
saying like kind of? I'm sorry. Go ahead. You wonder what?
You asked me.
Uh, it almost sounds like you're saying that there's situations where it's almost experientially we have one foot in a moment and one foot in the future or something, one foot in the past, one foot in the present. I think about like somebody like this, right? Where this guy goes and cuts her head off.
Mm.
Now, assuming there's people there who see this happen, there's the moment where the woman is alive and there's the moment where she gets her head cut off. But there is a time after which she gets her head cut off where the people watching, where you almost are in disbelief that it actually happened.
Mm.
In which case, for a moment there in your brain, she's still there and yet she's not there simultaneously.
Sure, but I mean, is this becoming very literal now? I mean,
Well,
so,
I'm just saying that, like, but metaphorically, like, I think that there's just this. I think time can get confusing
sure,
in the
but
even the concept. What we could think of the past, and we could think of a moment an experience you had when you were a teenager, and if you close your eyes and you listen to the right song, it feels like it's happening to you again. You know.
mm,
So there's like this. There are these. It's almost like the experience and witness are temporarily irrelevant to some extent.
I mean, if we were being kind of good Buddhists, certainly Taoists, we would say we die to every moment, right?
Sure.
Yet we remain.
for now.
Well, the word remain is also really tricksy, isn't it? But I'm just, I find this the most playful of all the things that we can talk about, really, because it speaks to this idea that something is what we might think of as fixed in time, yet actually continues. That something that we, for example, in art, just generally, we're thinking about something that is the repository of human experience,
Sure.
and that goes for everything that's come before us. Yet, as people who live the knowledge of that now, we invigorate it or we animate it somehow so that it continues to live. And this is where I find anything really, art, literature, fascinating. My key word is that it
Are
somehow.
you saying by experiencing the skating minister, we are keeping the skating minister alive?
Sure, yeah, I think
Okay.
so. And what I want to look at in myself, and I question for myself, is whether in keeping the skating minister, for example, alive, or St Juthware, in this illuminated text from the sort of early 15th century, am I continuing to witness? It's not that I continue to witness the event that's contained within this document, for example, but that I continue to witness the the kind of inceptive moment, the creativity, something that makes it, I want to say real, but you're going to be all over that in a minute. The thing
No,
that
go ahead.
the original thing.
This is one spot of woo that I will accept because I agree.
One spot of woo, eh?
That's the name of the episode. A spot of woo. This is one place though where I do agree with you. I think that there is like a moment of inception. Persig would describe it as sort of inherent quality of an idea. Uh, yeah, I mean, yes, okay, got it.
Okay. So anyway, the other reason why I was thinking about this is that this coming weekend we were going to go to Paris. That's now all changed. We're going to Scotland instead. But I was talking to my daughter about Paris, and about Montmartre and St Denis, and the fact that St Denis is actually a cephalophore. So he continued to preach from his site of decapitation in Montmartre all the way into what is now the northern suburbs of Paris, where the cathedral is that is of his namesake. So cephalophores are things that people don't know that term necessarily, and it's kind of like one of those things that becomes like word of the week. Here's an obscure word you've never heard before,
Sure.
but it's something actually. The image of the cephalophore is something that I don't know about you, but for me is very much ingrained in my mind, in my consciousness.
I think okay, yes. Do you wait, hold on a second. Do you believe that any of this actually happened?
Is this like you
And if
asking?
not, where does that myth come from? Like what is it that people imagined? You know what I'm saying?
But
Was
that's
it
why I'm
was it
asking about continuing witness. Even
yeah,
if the fact is that the head gets lopped off and
it goes rolling off, hits the wall.
the
Sure.
mouth doesn't continue to speak the gospel, whatever.
Yep.
There's something about that moment beyond death that is nonetheless vital.
Vital not in the sense of important, but vital as in the sense of still alive in some way.
Yeah. I mean, you many years ago now sent me something, and we've talked about this before. You sent me something that was from like the School of Thought or something like that, and it was a kind of animated sequence about how long it would take before you're utterly meaningless.
Oh yeah, sure.
Right? So it was
Yeah.
like, in 100 years from now, no one's going to remember me.
Yep. Just some guy theory of life. Yes.
And then, in 500 years from now, every trace of me will be completely lost.
Yep.
Like, even if a skilled archaeologist wanted to find out about me, highly
Yeah.
likely they couldn't.
Unless someone made some art about you that survived.
Yes, but and then even then, the art itself might lose the context in which I actually existed, and then I become meaningless
Sure.
again. So, I was thinking about the kind of durational aspect of Cephalophore. Like, how long would someone have to be almost like remembered to still be being?
Do you almost imagine it as I don't know what the right word would be, but that it's the concept of the cephalophore is actually in trying to keep the importance of the person alive. You know what I mean? It's the people telling the story that are the head that is speaking still.
Well, it's like a historical or like a cultural testimony, as I've said. It's
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Sure, sure.
mm, I think, there's sometimes you just light upon or I light upon ideas that really speak to you. And this is one that's really got me going. And it's very unrefined, as you can tell this evening. I'm just sort of coming up upon it for myself. But it's something that I will go away and I will really, really go into. This idea that there's a moment of death and then beyond that, what? And I'm not, ironically, for something that's so popular in medieval Christian art, I'm not dealing with it in a Christian context, apart from my latent Christian conditions as a white
Sure.
Western woman growing up in the UK.
Sure.
I'm looking
See,
at it
see Tom Holland's Dominion, but okay, yes. Yeah.
anyway.
No, keep going. Oh, that's creepy. See, that's creepier to me than the medieval drawing.
Why?
I think mostly because it also looks like a tree growing out of where their head used to be.
Isn't that the point? I think this.
Yes, but it
I
still
think it's
freaks me out.
brilliant. I mean, Cecile Reynal, I don't know, I've put a comma there, sorry, is someone who I've never heard of before. And just because I typed in cephalophore art and went to images, I eventually found this. But I was intrigued by this. I loved the idea that, you cut off the head and a branch grows, or that, something else is going to
It's a little Medusa-like, isn't it?
Well, it's also like I know this. I mean, this artist is working in Normandy in France. She's kind of a hybrid artist between the kind of the performative and the sculptural.
Hmm.
I like the idea, though. There's something very kind of English folkloric about it as well. This idea of there being there being a being beyond the being.
Well, and there's also a like a pagan of the land kind of element to it, right?
Sure, and I think the tree is definitely significant in that. And that is something that for cephalophore, the idea that you have a root and that the tree or the blossom comes almost perennially, regardless of how dead.
Do you actively
Old is.
engage with the world in a way so that you are witnessed even after your death? That you will be remembered?
No, I think I have no business in that.
What does that mean?
Well, I
Like you're
mean,
not worthy?
not at all. This is not about worth, because that would only be self-worth.
You don't get to choose?
I understand this thing that I think a lot of people seem to have, where they seek to remain.
Hmm.
But my life is a gift, right?
Yeah.
And
But you had a child. That's part of that too, right? I mean, to some extent.
that's not conscious. That
Okay.
element of this is not conscious, is what I mean.
Okay. Yeah.
So in terms of like legacy, I'm not thinking I shall I shall make Speaking of Seeing with Bill Wadman so that 50 years from now, some unsuspecting poor person can stumble upon our archive of videos and remember me. I don't do it for that reason.
When we're long gone, that's not why we do it.
Um, I mean, it's actually quite difficult to then justify why we do it, I suppose.
Why we do anything.
Indeed.
This is this is my constant problem of the last few years.
But what I mean is, I don't feel a desperation to leave my mark.
Okay. Did you ever?
Oh, there's Amazon.
It is. Hold on.
And so, whilst we wait for Bill to collect his parcel, this has happened several times before, viewers. We could reflect on what it means to be a cephalophore, but we could also wonder what is in the package from Amazon.
I can tell you, it is a. I broke my Herman Miller Aran chair that I normally sit in, and it's a part to fix my chair. Not very exciting. But I'm excited about it because then my back won't hurt anymore. Because I've been sitting in an old wooden chair for the last week and a half and it stinks. I mean, it doesn't actually smell, it just hurts to sit in the chair. Um, yeah, I think there was a time at which I wanted to make a mark, but I've sort of lost that desire.
Mm. I
Maybe
mean,
that's just,
I don't think this could equate you to a cephalophore because a cephalophore is usually quite unwitting in their demise.
it's true. I mean, if you want to come cut my head off, I guess we could do that.
I also think that there's something from childhood about the cephalophore, which is that, sometimes I really do wonder if I had a normal childhood because I spent a lot of time wondering about, men with ruffled collars, like Tudor men,
Oh, sure, sure.
holding their head under their arm, the haunted, like,
Ooh,
yeah. So
lots of that.
there's lots of that from childhood, but really what I'm trying to work through for myself is this idea that there's the archive, the psychological archive in art that lives beyond the moment of creation. There's
Sure.
this thing that happens beyond the death of anything. Something is still happening.
I mean, to some extent, that's actually not a terrible definition of art. Like a physical object or creation that attempts to, trap a moment in time to be experienced by others later.
Yeah, and that suspension of time is something where, you know, we we are still moving about.
Hmm.
I don't know if
Well,
you've
that's yeah.
felt
Go ahead.
this, Bill, but the world slows down, but you're still moving in it.
Bum bum bum. Wait,
Or
wait, wait.
the world speeds up and you
Sure.
remain at your current pace. This is something that I don't think you need to be nuts to experience. I think
No,
that
I was waiting up the street at the diner outside for a friend of mine for lunch, and I was sitting on the bench, and this older woman was like walking with a walker, and her phone started ringing. Of course, she had it on like 10 out of 10 loudness of ringing. Like she pulls it out of her pocket and she answers the phone, and she's like, what are you talking about? Typical sort of older person. And I was just thinking, she's this older person and she's using this phone this way. 40 years ago, anyone who had a phone in their pocket would have been the future. And now she's the past, the way she's using it. It's like the world has moved on and she's going to continue doing what she does in the same way that I'm going to continue wearing the clothes that I wear and thinking the way I think and experiencing things the way I do as the world moves on and I am shifting just to be an older person in society. It's weird, makes me uncomfortable, but I guess that's just the way of the world.
makes you uncomfortable.
Yeah, I'm going to start using Gen Z slang. Gonna have a mentee bee after this.
Oh, wow. Oh my God. I just forget about a nice finish. I'm just going. Goodbye, Bill.
Bye, Sandy.